Moduls Rīga piedāvā.
Usually, I don't pick just one theme because I write for many years one book, so you can pick up different themes. But of course, if it's the Red Book of Longing, it's about longing. It's about standing with one foot in the childhood and in the other in the adulthood. And to be adolescent, the dramatic period when everything is happening for the first time. So I try to discover what's actually inside Emma Gloria, because I've been writing one Emma Gloria when she is 11 with a very, very powerful imagination. So she can't really see the difference between the reality and the imagination. And here there is this Cecilia, her imagination friend, or the friend that has been around, starts to disappear. She can't find it back, the way to the play, how you play and so on. So it's much about the longing back and longing forth. And of course it's also what I wanted to explore is that usually you always choose to be either victim or the one who's the bad guy or the bad woman. But I wanted to explore also that there is that it's a gray zone between being seduced when you're 14 or 15 and what it can lead into. I experienced that myself, and I think almost every growing girl who is a little curious may experience that without really realizing that it's not something, it's not a fault of your own, because you start to very easily accuse yourself for the sexuality that you don't actually know. It's just a feeling. So I want to explore that and maybe also try to understand why someone nice, a man, is taking advantage of a child or a grown-up girl without really making him a bad guy, but more like trying to understand how he is thinking. Something like that. I must say I wrote that book in 2006 or 7, I think. So I've been writing one Emma Gloria when she's 18, 19, and she gets out of school, and she really, that's the point where you get to be, everybody thinks that now you're an adult, now you know what you want. And that's, I always chose to write about the crossroads, when there is a sort of crisis or a crossroad, you have to make big decisions and you are quite on your own. So it's more like quite universal themes about growing, about getting adult. And I don't actually think so much about maybe the teenager in myself then, and then because I work about 2-3 years on one book, so it takes a while before I realize what I actually explore. It's not when you get an order to write a play, for example, with a theme, that's a very different way of working. But here I've been working around themes that are connected to that age. I wanted to write about that age because I think there are very few books that actually don't glorify or stupefy or fantasize or I wanted to look at the real things that I feel are real when you're in that age. And I work a lot with young people because I'm a drama pedagogue also, so I work with, so I see that. And I see also how hard it is to talk about those things. So maybe, yeah. I think you always write something of yourself into your characters, or as you play also in or acting, it's the same thing. You learn or you pick things that you experienced to be able to. But Emma Gloria she just came to me. It was very clear that she wanted me to tell this story. Satori, it came like a Satori. It was a Satori, the first sentence, and I was just going, okay, I listen, I write down. I'm actually an actress, so I started as an actress as I was 18. I get into acting, and I remember the first time I was acting a big part where I was also a teenager, and this director wanted me to giggle all the time and be like a teenager, like giggling. I was not giggling so much when I was, I mean, it was sometimes you giggle, but it's also a very serious time. And I remember, because I've been writing a diary since I was 4 years old, so I have like many meters of diaries from all the periods. So I took out my diaries when I was 12, 13, 14, and I was shocked. It was really dark, and it was really serious, thinking about the world war and about the nuclear power, and I was really very political, and things of course there was also guy stories and love, but that was not what occupied my mind so much. And I was going like, well, we have sort of a picture of what it is to be in certain age, because that's how we want to look back. But going into the skin of what you were when you were a child or a teenager, you need to work on that. You need to get into the sensation, and this Emma Gloria was the hardest, because that was the hardest time. It was really not easy, because I got into all this sweaty body, and I remember everything in my body. I mean, you write with your body also. And then I started to remember more and more. So like I say, I write many years on one book, trying to really put on a map on what it is to be in that age. And I think it's the same when you write for children. You have to, I write now for about 10-year-old, like from the perspective of a 10-year-old. And that's very fun, because that's such a beautiful age for many people when you really explore. And that's why Astrid Lindgren chose also to write about that age, I think, because everything is possible, and still you're not in this body growing and everything happening there. So I work a lot on that, and of course, being an actress, I have the skills, and I've been learning how to also incorporate that. So, and of course, working with having own children and working with children and adolescents all the time, I'm connected to that part. I don't know how it is here. But as I read everything that gets out in Swedish, I would say that fantasy is one very strong option, and all these Hunger Games and all that, I mean, skiffy and fantasy. But then, of course, there are also very sad and very depressing stories, and maybe there is everything for everyone who wants to read. I think you can actually compare it to the adult literature, that you can actually find everything. But the major stream that is sold for teenagers are now these hero stories, very much, and quite violent, a lot of blood and a lot of killing, and not so much maybe about the inner thoughts of I think it's a problem everywhere right now, but then I would like to point out that maybe it's time also to talk about the real things. I mean, put the cat on the table and say it's guys. Girls are reading, and the problem are that it's not at all popular or cool to read when you're a teenager guy. And that's a problem, because then you have to look further at the fathers. Where are the men, the reading men? Where are those men that actually talk about literature and read and think that it's cool, because it is cool. That's how you get girls, actually, by reading and being clever. So I must say we have to do quite an effort also to turning that way of thinking. So, I'm not. It's such a huge subject that the question you ask is so big, because I'm a book ambassador. I sit in the Kulturrådet in Stockholm, so I have a lot of different tentacles into that area. So I think we just have to realize that there are many ways of reading, but sometimes you have to force, and sometimes you have to be more clever and like just leave out books everywhere and talk about books and show the interest, because the teenagers always look what adults do. And if we're sitting with our iPads all the time and they never realize we maybe read a book, everybody will all sit at their laptops. It's very easy. Just look how we are, and the children will follow. Yes, I think it was Jean Le Carré, a Frenchman, who wrote a very good book about reading, actually for his son, and he pointed out that we always read against something. It's a protest. It's not, no one wants to do things because it's healthy or good. We always try to find the secrecy, especially adolescent, want to find what's there for me, that it's hidden. And when you find that, you really you need to read. It's like this big secret of your own. So you have to remember that there are both ways. Of course, school can force you have to read that, and then you make an essay about it. But actually, it doesn't mean anything. You have to find what interests you the most, and then when you get into a world that it's for you only, you understand what I mean when I said it's a protest to read. It's a protest towards your parents or towards the society. It's and when it's a protest act, it's something that will be part of your identity. And the most interesting is that now the hidden and the forbidden and the secret things are in the games, because everybody says it's not good. No, don't play the games. Don't play, especially not the violent games. And everybody's going there because that's the forbidden. That's where the blood and all this violence and all that. But I think the interesting is that it's exactly the same way the humans always been before it was the books. So we just have to step a little forward and look at that, and how can we get them to be curious. I mean, I'm sure there are many ways.